Coming to you from the central coast of New South Wales, Australia, the number one podcast for the X-Men animated series. This is Generation X-Men with Bender and Brooksey.
Thanks, Steve. This is Generation X-Men. I'm Bender, and with me, as always, is Brooksey.
Hey, hey.
Like the name suggests, we are Generation X-Men, and you are too. If you're new to this, what we'll be doing is going through all 5 seasons of X-Men the animated series, one episode at a time, giving you our thoughts, X-quiz, tally time, and most importantly, having a laugh as well. Now, before we get into the episode today, I want to answer a question that we brought up last week, a little discussion we had about Gambit and Storm.
Oh, yeah.
We saw a little bit of a connection there, mainly because of the look that Storm and Rogue shared, implying that there's a previously existing relationship between Storm and Gambit. We assumed it was something a bit sexual because we're sickos like that. But you want to fill the listeners in on this one,
I think
Brooksy?
it was just that she'd brought Gambit to the X-Men, wasn't it? That was all I brought out of it. Was that true?
Yeah, something along the lines of that. They used to be, I think that if you delve deeply into the canon about that, they may have been in like an Assassin's League or something like that. And she was the one who sort of brought him to the X-Men. But I did a little bit of research myself, just from fan research, because I didn't want to go through a Wikipedia page and give out like a sort of stock answer like that. So I went to the X-Men Storm fan group on Facebook.
Oh, they'll know.
They'll know because they're 100% Storm. And I just put in the question, just curious, guys, do Storm and Gambit ever have a relationship in the comics? But most of the answers I got back were, nah, they've kissed a few times, but that's about it. Some storylines branch out that they end up having a child in an alternate universe, but nothing that is in, like, say, Earth 1 or the proper canon and stuff like that. But, yeah, I just thought it was an interesting thing to ask because they often do have, especially if we see little nods like that in the series, they know that they're implying to something else. But another thing that I spotted that was really cool, I just typed in Storm Gambit, and one of the images that come up was them in the Blackbird together. They're flying off to a mission, and because the art looked cool to me, I looked up that issue was, and it was like mutants versus vampires. It was like a one-off comic book between those two. And I really want to read it, but prices for that comic book are way too high for me to invest for one. It's just a one-off series, like a what-if sort of thing. It's just of Gambit and Storm kicking the shit out of some vampires. So if I find it cheap anywhere, I'm going to get that because that seems right up my alley, and it's like a really sort of cool sort of style of drawing that I like. Now, on to the episode. Sentinels. We're up to the last episode of the first season.
This is it.
The final decision, and they're going out with a bang on this one.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they did, because this is another episode for me that's pretty high on the rewatch list, because there's a butt-ton of Sentinel action in this one.
And you love the Sentinels.
And I love the Sentinels. There's a ton of cool moments. They're not as super badass and menacing as they are in part 1, but because they're just talking and showing up and being awesome, mutant, and all that sort of jazz. It's a big rewatch episode for me. That, and because you get some serious destruction.
Yeah, there's a lot of action in this one.
They get all sorts of messed up. It's those cheaper plastics that these Sentinels are more expendable than the hardcore metal ones earlier on. And another reason I watched this episode, I think, because from this point in the series, I'll continue on to season 2, 3, and 4, there aren't that many Sentinel-heavy episodes. I think this was the last big hurrah. I think they might have used up all that they can with the Sentinels as the villains.
So they've got so much more to go on to. There's
exactly
so
right.
many more.
Don't want to bring them back every season, but yeah, I think this is the last big, great Sentinel episode to kick off end the storyline of the
originally,
Sentinels.
this was going to be it. Like, this is all they
the big theory was confirmed. I mean, it was confirmed online ages ago, but we had a thought that's why they crammed in so many characters into the first season. Is like the big theory is that they weren't guaranteed a second season, so they had 13 episodes to chuck everything into and press and just knock it out of the park and just have this big, awesome one season. This is the only season they'll get. Let's try and entertain as much as we can. And they ended up getting the second season based on this one. So it was a pretty good gamble.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on into it. It's time for X Quiz.
Pop quiz, Hotshot.
Pop quiz!
Pop quiz, asshole.
Time for a surprise quiz?
Won't be a pop quiz on Wednesday. There's a pop quiz. Pop quiz.
So how many questions you got today, mate?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. I have four X quizzes for you, boss. Chances are they're probably the same as yours. Because, there was this X quiz that was pretty good in this one. I think you could see little names and bits and bobs and other plenty of stuff to count as well. I wasn't going to count how many sentinels were appearing in it because there's thousands of them. Thousands. But yeah, I've got 4 X quiz. How about you?
I got 4.
Okay. You go first.
Okay, who do we see when the professor scans Gambit's mind? Who are the Easter egg guys?
Who are the Easter eggs? Well, all of them, they're just going through people he's interacted with before. There's Rogue. There's the blonde girlfriend from the Thieves and the Templar or whatever they're called. But I don't know her name. And I think Ghost Rider's in there.
Yep. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, so I've got Ghost Rider and the blonde chick. So that's all I got.
So it starts off with Bishop.
Yep.
Then Belladonna.
Belladonna, okay.
Then Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
Then Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Master Mold. And then Henry Gyrick.
Right, okay. Okay, at the start of this episode, you hear that Senator Kelly's been abducted. What's his first name?
Robert.
Ah, yeah, it's Robert. Fuck. Celebrating prematurely.
That's what you get. Who does Gyrick work for?
Who does Gyrick work for?
Yep.
Well, he works with Trask, right? He doesn't work for Trask.
No.
Sugar, I have no idea. Is it the Mutant Regulation Control Men?
No. It's the Federal Security Agency.
Oh, okay. Oh, shit.
When he pulls his phone out, he goes, "This is Gyrick from the Federal Security Agency."
Oh, okay. I'm being attacked by mutants.
That's it.
I was too busy thinking about that snow line that he drops because it's amazing. At the start of the episode, Magneto's talking about how he went to DC and watched what was going down. He flies over a newspaper, the DC newspaper. What's the name of the newspaper?
Ooh, Daily News?
No, it is not. It is the Washington Bugle.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Which shaft does Gambit send the card down and all the guys go down into the mine?
I looked at that. I was going to write it down. I thought, nah, that's really blurry. There's no way Brooksey saw that. But I've forgotten it as well. Is it shaft B?
It is.
I was going to think, is it either shaft B or shaft 2? So I'll see B. I've been shafted. During the montage when Mastermold says he's going to replace their brains with computers, 2 senators are abducted. What are the senators' names on their little name tab?
The second one I couldn't read.
Okay.
I
spotted that one.
The first one, the second one's a girl.
Yeah.
The first one's a guy.
Yeah.
The first one is it Andrew Houston or something like that? Yeah.
It is Senator Andrew Houston.
And the second one is it's a girl. So I don't know.
I haven't got a last name. I think it was, but I haven't got a first name, but I think the last name was Senator Callisto or something like that.
All right.
That's what I'd put my money on if I watched it again.
Yeah, I couldn't read it. I was going to do that one too, but I couldn't read it. So I'll leave that one alone.
I love how there's so much Houston X quiz popping up now.
It's great. At the end of the season, it's like, quick, get something.
Yeah, I love it. Should have put everything. Houston, everything.
Yeah. And what month does Beast get out of jail?
Oh, Jesus. I didn't pay attention to that, so I'll just have a shot in the dark. Was it February?
October. You just had the little calendar on the side.
Oh, okay.
His cell.
Right. This would be an easier one. During the end of the episode, Trask points the laser at a pipeline. What's running through the pipes?
Propane.
That is correct. Is that it for X quiz?
That's it.
I think I stumped you twice.
Yeah.
It's got to be a record.
But one you weren't sure about. So.
Yeah, okay. Stumped you once. Let's lock it in.
I'll be taking screenshots if you're wrong.
Previously on X-Men.
So previously on X-Men, we get Bishop came back from the future to stop the assassination of Senator Kelly. We get Mystique as the assassin, disguised as Gambit, but she is stopped by the X-Men. After the attempt, Senator Kelly's office is trashed and he's kidnapped. And then Professor X's watch has stopped because it has been magnetized.
Mm-hmm. like we said before, that ending hook of that
Yeah.
episode, the most iconic, memorable hook or to be continued line or scene in the series, I think. Nothing else sort of really comes close. Just going off the top of my head, the magnetized line is a big one.
Yeah.
So it's time for the breakdown.
Break it down.
Break it down. Now it's time for a breakdown.
Breakdown.
So today we are doing Season 1, Episode 13, The Final Decision. The original air date for this one was March 27, 1993, and it was written by Mark Edward Edens and directed by Larry Houston.
On your Larry. Now, Mark Edward Edens, that's a name that keeps popping up. How many did he do before this? Because I want to compare and see if I've liked those episodes or not.
He did the first two, The Night of the Sentinels,
Yep.
Part 1 and 2, and then also Slave Island,
Yep.
The Cure, and then this one.
Okay, so all of those bar the Cure have Sentinels in them. So he must be the go-to guy for writing Sentinel dialogue. Because I really like all the Sentinel dialogue in this one.
Yeah.
Anything the Sentinels say always says
What?
it.
No.
No. What? Everything the Sentinels say sound really cool and like not Terminator-esque. They're not RoboCop-esque. They're like exclusively what a Sentinel would say. Well, that's what makes them so cool to me. They're not reminding me of other robots.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a little bit of Ed 209. But no, they still feel like Sentinels, which is what I really like. So good on you, Mark. What's his full name?
Mark Edward Edens.
Good on you, Mark Edward Edens.
So the episode kicks off with another TV news report, this time about the anti-mutant riots happening across the country in retaliation for the kidnapping of Senator Kelly by renegade mutants.
Always renegades.
So there's a lot of these where they're watching the TV and it starts off there, isn't there?
Yeah, they do start off with a lot of television transitions. I think because it is cool to start on a close-up of a TV if you're watching it through that same shape TV. That's a way of inviting you into the world, I think. And that's a good way to start. Well, they always start with like the reporter. So, yeah, that's pretty neat, eh? Should count all them. There'll be heaps of them.
So Wolverine is pissed because
Wolverine and he's always pissed.
That's right. This time is because they saved the life of Senator Kelly, and this is all the thanks they get.
Yeah.
And then the professor's quick to tell him that he did get kidnapped after that, mate. So,
Well, that wasn't us.
We saved the jerk's butt, and look at the thanks we get.
So stupid Cyclops is straight in here, and he's like, "Oh, but he could be anywhere," because he forgets that they have Cerebro. So Professor just pulls out Cerebro, goes, "Mate, I'll find him. It's all right."
They really do write Cyclops stupid. I don't think any of the writers liked Cyclops.
So now we cut to a ship, it's sort of run aground. Do you reckon it's run aground sort of ship? You reckon it's been like abandoned or something?
Yeah,
or...
one of those ones that all the shipping containers fall out and the people raid because they're free now or whatever. But yeah, it's run aground for sure. No one's... Oh, he's taken it.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Has he stolen this
He
ship?
just flogged that ship.
Yeah. So this is Magneto's new hideout. So he's moved up in the world from the sewers that he was in last time, if you can remember, with all these big computers.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a move it is. Like, he doesn't have the big surveillance that he has access to all world news and everything. So he's just living in a rusty ship now.
So Kelly asks Magneto why he brought him here, and he explains that he agrees with the Senator's thoughts that humans and mutants can't live together in peace. And he wants to act now and destroy all humans while they are divided and the mutants are strong.
You missed the big setup punchline line that Robert Kelly feeds him. He goes, "What do you want?" And Magneto says, "Your life." I wrote down here, besides that big line, Magneto sort of revealed in a blasé sort of way. The first time we see him, it's just a close-up of the eyes, and after he says, "Your life," it cuts to a wide shot of him just standing there and talking mid into his monologue here. I figured like after that big teaser towards the end of the episode in part 2, the first time we see him should be as big a moment as when we first see him in Enter Magneto. Well, that's what I thought anyway.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not have Senator Kelly awake, and when he so that they're already talking. Maybe I would have started Senator Kelly asleep, And then Magneto comes in through the top of the ship after getting groceries or whatever and says, and just sort of appears that way like it's a big aha moment. Oh, it was Magneto, the magnetized watch. It was him. It wasn't anyone else setting him up. So I would have thought that their entrance of Magneto should have been much bigger.
So apparently Magneto knew about the assassination plot all along, and he flew to Washington to witness the new age.
Yeah, that's funny. How would he know about that?
So we get this quick flash here of last ep, and except this time Magneto's outside of the window staring in at the assassination.
That's right, yeah. That's where he flies over the Washington Bugle.
It is up to me to finish what others have started.
And so the reason he's kidnapped him is to kill him.
In private.
Why didn't he just do it then when he was looking through the window?
Because then the Sentinels wouldn't have been able to stop him. What I was most interested in is how he was going to kill him. He picked up like a giant engine or something, a giant big steel part. He's just going to drop it on Senator Kelly. Seems a little bit Looney Tunes, but whatever, Magneto.
I've got a family, children. Be quiet.
Yeah, so Magneto says, "Goodbye, Senator. Mutant liberation begins."
That's the line.
So yeah, he's got the floating. What do you reckon? It's like a motor or a generator.
I'd say
something like that.
Generator's a much better thing. For a motor, it wouldn't have a flat bottom, but the generator, that makes a lot of sense. So he's got this massive generator hovering over Senator Kelly. He's about to drop it on him, but...
And then the old Sentinel hand comes crashing through and grabs the motor.
That's the ad brake too, isn't it?
Cut straight to an ad brake there.
Yeah, that's a good ad brake.
So we come back from the break, and the Sentinel peels the roof off the ship. Mm-hmm. And then Magneto's not worried. He says, "Fools, do you think robots can resist the master of magnetism?"
Hits him with the beams and... woo.
He tries to use his powers, but then the Sentinel informs him that he's made of plastic.
This series of sentinels is made of plastics, not metals. Your magnetic powers are useless against us.
Yep, the old favourite, the old palm blast.
I love the good palm blast. But, well, I just realised after we mentioned that it goes to the ad break, and the big reveal in this episode is that it's Sentinels.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay, they knew what they were doing. Don't waste the big reveal that it's Magneto. Have the big reveal be the Sentinels. Because there's no hint of Sentinels coming in this episode at all, right?
No.
Excellent. Okay, they know what they're doing. I redact my statement. But still, I would have liked I want a big moment for everybody, you know?
So this blast knocks Magneto across the room, knocks his helmet off. That was pretty cool.
The Senator thinks they're the rescue team, right?
Yeah, and then the second Sentinel appears, and then he's like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know how you found me," and he comes in with the old tentacle loop.
Yep.
Gets him around the legs, takes him out. And then Magneto's laying on the ground with his helmet off, and then he says, "This entire ship is my weapon." So then he uses some of the other generator.
And just launches it straight through the guts of Sentinel number 1. But I want to mention, real quick, as Magneto looks around, there's blood coming out of his mouth. This was another big no-no I thought that you couldn't have in a children's program, showing one of the characters bleeding because it's a little bit too realistic, a bit too gruesome. But later on in this scene, he gets real bloody.
So the second Sentinel takes off with Kelly, and the third starts to peel back the other side of the roof and attack Magneto. And so Magneto uses the rivets from the metal sheeting of the ship to attack the third Sentinel.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
And then another Sentinel appears from behind him, just with a big hammer fist over the top. Bang!
Yeah, that's a great way to wipe somebody out. The big hammer fist that just crushes someone. And coming from a Sentinel too, that's a lot of weight coming down on Magneto. Probably didn't kill him because this series of Sentinels made of plastics, not metals, which I think comes up later because they're a lot less sturdy than some of the earlier Sentinels.
So now we cut to the X-Men in the Blackbird, and Cyclops is explaining that their mission is to get Senator Kelly to safety, and then they can worry about Magneto later. When they show up to the ship, it's sort of on fire a little bit. So Storm gets a little bit of a wave to come in, put it all out. Yeah. And then they start calling out for Magneto, even though they're looking for Kelly.
Yeah. Magneto!
Yeah. But they just said, "Hang on, we're coming here to get Kelly."
Yeah. I think they're still in search mode, so they're probably just trying to make peace with him. Well, it was Cyclops that said it. Hard to trust his motivations as to why he's doing stuff.
No one listens to him.
Nah. What is he going to say? I'm over here, Cyclops.
So Gambit charges one of his cards and uses it as like a candle because he can't see because it's all dark inside. And so he runs sort of straight into a bit of like a smashed up sentinel.
Yeah. Mais amis, a sentinel.
And then Wolverine comes in with...
It takes a whole sentinel to scare most people.
And then he just tosses the card over his shoulder with a little pop there that doesn't really... Because we talked about earlier that sometimes he can sort of take half the charge out and throw it away so it becomes like a firecracker rather than a grenade. Why can't he just reabsorb the energy? Oh, maybe his hand will blow up. Okay, makes sense.
Then they hear sort of Magneto's like whimpering and from underneath a bunch of scrap metal. Mm-hmm. So Rogue flies over to pick it up. And then like Cyclops is covering her with the blaster.
Yeah, I like that. I'll cover you.
And yeah, they pick it up and he's in bad shape.
He's in real bad shape. The front of his shirt is all torn up. His six-pack's out, but it's covered in blood. Yeah. It's definitely blood. It's not torn up red uniform or anything. He's looking like a mess, and that hammer fist done him. It absolutely done him.
So then we go to the Sentinels base, which is an underground mine this time.
Yeah.
And our old mate, Master Mold, is there.
He's back.
And he's just pumping out the Sentinels with Trask.
Yeah, here we get a bit of dialogue back and forth between Trask and Senator Kelly. They're broing down and Trask says something along the lines of...
You saved my life, Dr. Trask. How can I help you?
And Trask says that he wants a presidential order putting Sentinels in charge of controlling mutants. So Kelly says as soon as he's president, he will give this order.
You'll have that order.
Trask then orders the fresh new Sentinel to take Kelly back to his campaign headquarters. And then he just goes, no.
Sentinel, return Senator Kelly to his campaign headquarters.
No.
What?
Master Mold, this Sentinel's defective. I can do the whole scene for you. I could do the whole scene for you. It is not defective. I'm in charge now, or something like that.
Master Mold says that he's giving the orders now.
That's it.
So the machines are taking over.
Rise of the machines.
And so then he gives his next order, which is, you will remove Senator Kelly's brain and replace it with a computer.
Senator goes, what? Again?
You will remove Senator Kelly's brain and replace it with a computer.
What?
As a kid, that line, you'll remove Senator Kelly's brain and replace it with a computer. That's like the way he said it always cracked me up as a kid. That was always the big funny line just because... as a kid, I didn't know where Master Mold was going with it. You'll remove his brain and then replace it with a computer. It's like creating that visual image. I thought it was just trying to shove a computer to monitor into Senator Kelly's brain as a kid. I was like, what will that do? It'll make him totally obvious that he's
big square head.
Big square head. That's not going to work, Master Mold.
So then we get a montage here of the Sentinels kidnapping a bunch of world leaders all around the planet. And their plan is to replace all of their brains with computers.
With 90s tech? What, a 4 megabyte hard drive and 256 RAM? Well, it wouldn't even be that much RAM. It'd be like 64 megabytes of RAM.
Master Mold says it will be a vast improvement.
It will be a vast improvement. I like how every time you see Master Mold too, the angle of which you see him is at a slightly skew if it's called a Dutch tilt. They did it with the Batman villains in the 60s movies, but it just adds this really extra sense of menace to him that I really love. Our Master Mold, he's always sitting in that big ass chair of his and he's just looking angry as hell.
So we're back at the mansion and the X-Men have Magneto in the infirmary and Wolverine is determined to strike at the Sentinels before they get a chance to do the same.
Preemptive strike.
But they don't know where to find them.
Of course.
So Storm suggests that on Slave Island, Gambit saw the guy that's in charge of the Sentinels and they could use Cerebro to look into his mind to find him.
So at the moment, Cerebro is just like a screen share. They screen shares what Professor sees in his head so that everyone can see. It'd be easier if Professor just scanned him and told the X-Men, but we need some visual stimulation.
We need to see too.
We need to see all these cameos that are about to pop up and how he sees Rogue winking at him and shit.
So we get another cool X-wipe here. And then the Cerebro helmet falls from the ceiling onto Gambit's head.
Yep.
And then on the monitor, well, this is where we see your little cameos. You get Bishop and Belladonna, Rogue, Ghost Rider, Master Mold, and then finally Gyrick.
I like how the first image is of Bishop because it's coming off straight off that last episode. Bishop is still on Gambit's mind. He's the prick who kept trying to kill me.
Traitor.
I'm not a traitor, mon ami. Shut up, fool.
So the X-Men take off to catch up with Gyrick as he's leaving his office.
Right.
And, this is when Cyclops tells Storm to take him out as gently as... Storm says she's going to take him out as gently as the falling snow.
And you had a bit of a problem with this gently.
All she does is freeze up the road and make the car head-on crash straight into a tree.
What's a more gentle way of stopping him? How would you think Storm should have used her powers to slow him down?
She could have, picked up the car,
yeah.
tornadoed up the car, or...
And slowly hung him upside down.
Yeah.
But she did the ice slick and crashed him into a tree.
It totally writes off the car. The windscreen's all smashed. It's not just a little fender bender here.
If Gyrick and his driver weren't wearing seatbelts, they could have broken their nose and other limbs. But because of this snow falling scene and them crashing and Gyrick getting out pissed, we get one of my most favourite funny lines is when Gyrick gets out all pissed off and says,
Snow? What do you mean, snow?
that seems like a line like he's asking someone, but it's basically he's either talking to himself out loud or talking to the snow itself.
Yeah.
What do you mean, snow? It's not like him saying, where did this come from? It's just, what do you mean, snow?
So Gyrick and his driver have a bit of a shootout here with the X-Men.
Yeah.
Before he retreats into the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah, well, I thought before I cut you off there, Gyrick shoots back and he does a bit of tumbling and stuff like that. Very John Woo-ish. I thought it was pretty funny, actually. He shoots off a few times, does a big forward roll, hides behind, then he gets on the phone and then he tells him where he's working at and he's being attacked by mutants. Then he goes to the Lincoln Memorial.
He runs up in the memorial and Wolverine's sitting on Lincoln's lap.
Yeah, I don't know if that's symbolic of anything, like maybe Lincoln and Wolverine would be mates, or maybe he knew
Maybe
him.
they were mates.
Maybe they were mates, there you go.
So yeah, then we have a clawdraw here and Wolverine jumps on top of Gyrick. And then, so he's pinned Gyrick down, he's got his claws out, ready to kill someone again.
A denied claw attack we get
Yeah,
here.
Cyclops comes running in to remind Wolverine that we're not here to murder Gyrick, we're here to get some information out of him.
Hell, Wolverine's got some murder in his system that he needs to get out.
He gets it out.
He
later.
He flexes that muscle, don't you worry about that.
So we overhear on Gyrick's phone that Trask is explaining the plot to switch the world leader's brains with computers.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wolverine again picks up Gyrick and slams him against Lincoln. He has another claw draw and
Another one.
tries to tell him where the base is.
So at this point in the story, Trask is he wants out. He's tripping out about the Sentinels and he wants nothing to do with them anymore. And he's asking Gyrick, what should we do, or what's the move?
So we cut back to the mansion now where the X-Men are in the war room debating whether they should go on the mission. This is where Gambit's like, this is suicide.
Oh, yeah, before we go
Slams his
forward,
fist in.
yeah, that's when Gyrick said, before we cut to the mansion, Gyrick says, you haven't got a shot. They've made thousands of Sentinels. Thousands. And that was the big moment. But yeah, we go back to the mansion and Gambit wants nothing to do with it. It's suicide.
So Magneto enters the danger room and says that
You've lost, Xavier. Admit it. Peace between mutants and normal humans is only a dream. Your foolish dream. If you try to rescue Kelly, you'll be throwing your lives away for nothing.
He's more or less saying, let's just team up here and let's pool our resources and get ready for the war to come because your vision's not happening, Xavier. Such a downer, Magneto.
So the professor sort of piggybacks onto this and he says to everyone, is he right? And then Storm says, the odds look impossible. And Cyclops says, if somebody doesn't stop him, there will be no future worth living.
Isn't this where Wolverine goes, "We're with you, Psych"?
Yes, that's the next line.
Oh.
Yeah, Wolverine is now with Cyclops, which is pretty
It's
unusual.
very unusual. About as unusual as the last time we said, "Mission accomplished, buddy." Back in, I think it's Enter Magneto. That's the only time they've seen them being real mates.
So then Cyclops walks out with Jean and he says, "I'll be in the Blackbird."
But Wolverine doesn't leave.
No.
We're with you, Psych. I'm just going to stay here for a
in
little
a
bit.
minute. Hang on.
In a minute.
So the Professor is even in on this mission and he just hovers out of there.
Yep. Professor's all in.
And Gambit's just sitting there shaking his head. Storm gets out and walks out. Jubilee goes to head out, but Wolverine stops her and says that she's not going.
Not you, kid.
And she starts crying and says that being an X-Man means more to her than anything in the world.
Wolverine says something along the lines of "me too."
Yeah, that's right. And this speech sort of makes Rogue head out too. And then finally Gambit stands up and the music comes to a climax.
They all sort of move to one side where it's just Gambit on the no side. And he's like, if Rogue's going, I suppose I better go, sort of thing. So he's going under duress.
Continues to swell as the jet takes off. And this time it takes off vertically. You see that?
Yeah, it's got the vertical Harrier rise.
And everyone's on board.
They all fly off to the distance except for Magneto, who's hanging back and monologuing again.
You're all fools. Heroic fools. The brave are always the first to die.
Jeez, I remember that line.
Yeah.
The brave are always the first to die. I mean, that's such a memorable line for me because it rings true. All the brave dickheads run in the first wave. They're usually the first getting wiped out.
Okay.
But yeah, I really dug that line. It really stuck in my head for so long, even way after the X-Men series. I just loved that line so much.
So as the X-Men show up to the mine, Master Mold can sense them, and so he awakens all the Sentinels. Yes,
an aircraft is approaching. That reminds me of RoboCop 3.
Oh yeah.
In RoboCop 3, Robo's running out of batteries, but he can sense. He says a vehicle is approaching. I thought, oh man, I just remembered that then. But then we get Master Mold says, "Awaken the Sentinels." He shoots his hand out to all the Sentinels lined up against the wall. Electricity comes out, and that just wakes them up. And then we get to see each of the eyes, and just runs down the line straight into the darkness. One of the coolest bits in the episode, I think. I love that bit. That's a great scene.
Awaken the Sentinels.
So Gambit, Jean, Cyclops, and Wolverine head down the elevator. So that leaves Rogue, Jubilee, and Storm on the surface with the Professor still in the Blackbird.
I would mention that I think this is the first time we see Professor in his action outfit.
Yeah,
he's got like a
Green jumpsuit.
Got the green jumpsuit on, buttoned up, black undershirt, sleeves rolled up to show off the forearms.
And the gloves on.
And the gloves on. This is action Professor. He's ready to push some buttons on the Blackbird.
Was that ever a figure?
I don't believe so, but
should have been.
It should, yeah, it should have been. I really like when the Professor gets into his action jumpsuit. I really dig it. I think it's the first time we see it too.
It is.
Yeah, excellent. So they land at the base, and that's when a few of the X-Men go down the elevator shaft, or we're led to believe that they go down the elevator shaft, right?
Yeah. So when it gets to the bottom, it's empty, except for there's one card in the middle.
Yeah, there are a whole bunch of Sentinels were waiting for them, getting their arms up ready to blast them. And they go, "What is that object?" And one stupid Sentinel, rather than using the zoom function on his eyes, bends over, puts his face right to him and goes,
It appears to be the ace of spades.
And that's when thousands of Sentinels start flying out of the shaft.
to me, that's like someone putting a firecracker in an ant's nest.
Okay. Yeah.
You put the firecracker, boom, then you just watch all the ants fly out going nuts because Sentinels swarm out of here.
Yeah.
They just swarm.
To me, it's like if you got a hole in a hose where it's just everything's just shooting out. Because they're blasting out of there.
Yeah. That's when they look totally menacing, just when they're numbers. And we get to even see they're flying out and then a sentinel flies past camera and his eyes do the bididit thing again.
Yeah.
I love that noise. I'd have that as my message tone.
So we get a bit of action here on the surface where Rogue's throwing train carriages at a couple of the
decapitates too.
and Storm blows a few of them away with a wind.
Into a big giant, what looks like an egg beater. That's what I thought it was, just this big thing spinning around. Maybe it's like a wind generator or something like that.
Yeah, generator, or it's like telling you the wind speed sort of thing or something like that.
Yeah, but it's massive. Surely it wouldn't be used to measure wind speed if these sentinels are getting blown up by it. I think it's like a generator. But this fuels the idea that this series of sentinels, because they're made of plastics, not metals, are a lot weaker than the sentinels that we have seen before, because these ones are getting sort of taken out pretty easily. I mean, online, people mentioned that as the shows went on, the sentinels became less of a threat because they get wiped out too easily. If this was me jumping into comic book world and animated series world, I'd argue that they're weaker because they're the Sentinels 2.0. They're not as big and tough and durable as the original one, like in the first episode, Night of the Sentinels. This one Sentinel he took lightning, he took Gambit's cards, he took Rogue punching him in the head, and it's only Cyclops who decapitated him that led him to be destroyed. So my big argument for all those people, these are the plastic Sentinels, they're not as tough.
We also get the Professor flying around in the jet, and we find out that the jet has some lasers.
There's some laser cannons in the front of it, which I thought was pretty cool. Professor X is doing a bit here.
And also, someone else is doing something here, Jubilee. She finally gets her first Sentinel by knocking over a water tower on top of it.
Yeah.
And then she also gets a couple more too. She covers them with, like, whatever they're taking out of the mine, I guess.
Yeah, some coal.
Yeah.
She takes out the first one. She goes, I got one. They should have had someone say, don't get cocky, kind of like a Star Wars nod. That's what I would have done. But yeah, she takes out this other one. This one is just goofily chasing after her. Then he gets his head caught on something that he can't fit under. And then she blasts some coal on top of him. So that's kind of goofy.
So the Sentinels seem to be getting the upper hand on the surface, just due to how many there are.
Yeah,
there's just
the numbers
thousands of
game.
them. And Rogue sort of gets sandwiched in between two rail cars.
Yeah, she saves Jubilee for a bit. Then she goes, you need to be more careful, girl. And then this cheap Sentinel comes from behind her and just rams her with the rail cart. And I mentioned, geez, these Sentinels are going really tough on Rogue.
Yeah.
And then you said, she could take it. She is pretty tough.
Also, Storm gets blasted out of the sky here.
Yeah, shot in the back.
Also, the Blackbird takes a beating.
Yeah, the Blackbird gets hit and is coming in for a crash. Right before she crashes, stopped by Magneto.
Upside down.
Yeah. Do you think I'll let you die alone, Xavier? Magneto's got the magnet powers. And you know when he's serious, because it's not just the yellow circles, he's got a bit of blue fire in there. That we notice in that little animation thing. I always notice when he's serious, he's got a little of that blue fire in the magnetic circles as well. So he flips the Blackbird over, and some more Sentinels charge in, right?
Do you reckon this was used in number 2 when he did the same thing in the movie, where Magneto catches the plane?
Ah, that's right. Yeah. The plane's coming down because there's a big hole in the roof.
It got hit by the missile.
Yeah, that's the one missile that Jean couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And then it's crashing and crashing. He tries to, as someone tries to save it, then you see all the hole close up, and then you hear shoom. And then Magneto's just got the jet by one hand. What was his line? Do you remember?
It's like, when will these people learn how to fly?
When will these people learn how to fly?
So we go back underground and we get another clawdraw.
Excellent.
And Gambit says to Wolverine, are you afraid of the dark? And he says, I smell sentinels.
That's when we get that shot of just some darkness ahead of him, and you see the lights go up there. Sentinel eyes come on again. Bididit, bididit, bididit. Look out, Cajun.
So Wolverine and Gambit make a run for it.
Yeah.
And Gambit's the first one through the big doorway. And Wolverine just slams it. So it locks him out, locks Wolverine inside.
Yeah, so is this a noble sacrifice for Wolverine?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, they're a team. Come on, Wolverine.
Yeah, he's got your back.
Yeah. Maybe if, like, Gambit had got hit first,
yeah,
then that would have been acceptable. But get him in there to help you, man.
I think this could be like a noble sacrifice for Wolverine. Like, maybe he's thinking, okay, Cage is not getting out of here, but I might because I got my healing factor. Or he just wants all the glory for himself.
Yeah. Well, he just wants to get all that murder out.
Yeah. Look, you're not taking any of my kills here. I'm sick of taking my kills because you got ranged. I have to get up real close to the bastards. But anyway, getting this really fun bit because all the lights are out. And Wolverine's being shot out by 3 sentinels. So every time the blast comes out the sentinel's hands, Wolverine's doing a little jump and dodging them. And as he does, dodging the blast, he keeps taking out the sentinels one at a time, and they're still missing. And when he gets down to that one sentinel, it's a really funny scene. He's blasting, and it looks like he leans in to get a closer blast because he can't believe that he keeps missing Wolverine. I always thought that was a funny little animation bit. It's almost like the sentinel saying, "Oh, fuck's sake!" Then Gambit finally breaks through, right?
Yeah, Gambit blasts his way through the door to help Wolverine, which he should have just done from the start.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been that hard. Why start smashing the door? So, I've got explosive cards.
So Master Mold has Kelly on the operating table, and Trask. Is Trask going to do the surgery here? I can't see Master Mold with his massive hands doing any sort of delicate surgery.
It's hard enough for me to put a Lego hat on a Lego man. I don't think Master Mold's going to be able to replace a brain without damaging
the
anything.
Sentinels aren't much smaller either.
No.
I didn't understand who's going to do the surgery.
I know, but Trask had this massive laser. That you'd only need a pen-sized laser to cut through a skull. I don't know.
So Trask says to Master Mold that you were designed to protect humans from mutants.
And the Master Mold says,
That is not logical. Mutants are human. Therefore, humans must be protected from themselves.
which is also a cool little nod to Days of Future Past. As well as maybe it's not the people who were controlling the Sentinels that took over. Maybe those people were the computer brains.
It was Skynet.
It was... Because, Bishop talks about soon the people who are running the Sentinels says that they want to take over the world. I'm thinking that they are the computer brains that Master Mold has implanted, and it's always been the Sentinels that took over. Yeah, now we're starting to make some theories.
So I just thought it was just the Sentinels became self-aware.
That too. Which I love all the Skynet stuff there.
So Cyclops and Jean come across the room now. It has Master Mold in it.
Yep.
And Cyclops tells Jean to use her psychokinetic powers.
Yeah, psychokinetic now rather than telekinesis, because psychokinetic just sounds very aggressive.
So here she levitates Kelly like halfway across the room, and then she drops him.
She drops him for no reason whatsoever. Maybe she's just so weak again.
Yeah, that's because if she did it any further, she was going to pass out. And then they're like, shit, how are we going to ride it? So someone has to come down and take Jean out. We need Jean to take Kelly out. Fuck. Just get her to do it halfway. Half a job.
It's so silly. That's because Trask was talking, and as the dude's been getting levitated away, and Master Mold says, "Silence, mutants."
So then Master Mold blasts Cyclops, and then he says, "I did not destroy him. I do not need to destroy, as I do not fear."
I thought that was a bit weak there.
Yeah.
They should. Master Mold wouldn't do that. I mean, yes, he's so big he doesn't fear death. He's so impervious he shouldn't need to, but would just have been just as easy for Master Mold to blast him in half or whatever. So Cyclops has got a bit of plot armor here. He's got the armor on just because the plot needs him to stay alive. He got lucky.
Master Mold also says that he'll bring order and peace to the world. So Trask is here blaming himself for what Master Mold's doing.
It's all my fault.
And then he sees the propane line running along the wall, and he moves that huge freaking laser.
The brain laser.
So he moves that over and then just blasts it into the propane line.
And Master Mold goes, "Trask!" and reaches for the thing, but it's too late. She goes up as Cyclops and everybody get them out of there.
Yeah, he orders Jean to take Kelly up, and he's going to go and get Wolverine and Gambit. And Cyclops says, "I'm not leaving anyone behind. Not this time."
I like during this scene we've got a different music cue. It's not the X-Men rev up music. It's escape music or moving music. It's like a da 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 da, that sort of repeating theme that seems a bit more suspense building rather than, okay, let's go win and kill some sentinels, which I thought was really cool. Yeah.
So then on Cyclops' visor, he has an X-Men communicator tracking sort of thing come up so he can find out where the X-Men are. We haven't seen this before.
He's got a tracker on all of them. This would be a lot easier if Wolverine ran away. When he runs away, Cyclops just turns on the communicator tracker.
So outside, the Sentinels receive some sort of communication that Master Mold is in danger.
Back in the hole. That's what you said. That cracked me up.
So they all start flying back into the mine.
Yeah.
And as soon as that's sort of like starting to come down because the explosion's happening down there. So that sort of wipes out all the rest of the Sentinels. So inside, Gambit and Wolverine are making like a nice mountain of destroyed Sentinels.
They're getting it done.
Wolverine's like hulked out of his shirt.
Always loses his shirt.
And then he says, next time I try and save your life, have the sense enough to let me do it.
Yeah. That's when Cyclops blasts through a hole in the wall and says a line that doesn't make sense. He goes, "You coming, or is this your day off?"
Yeah, fuck you, Cyclops. Look at how much shit we just did.
Can't you see all this pile of sentinels? We've been getting to work.
Yeah, where's your pile of sentinels, Cyclops? You haven't done shit.
Where's your trophy of sentinel corpses?
All you did was get blasted by Mastermind. So this is where Cyclops manages to eye blast an exit for them up to the surface.
Yeah. Jean and Senator Kelly and Trask have already made it out.
They just make it out before them, yeah.
Yeah, they're coughing and suffering from smoke inhalation. Rogue greets them and goes, "Where is everybody?" And
Where's Gambit?
Where's Gambit? And Jean says, Cyclops went after him. Rogue says, "I'm going down there." But then Cyclops blasts a hole and pops up. And then Rogue runs over.
Oh, she's so happy to see Gambit.
So happy to see Gambit. Gambit's happy to see Gambit. It says something like, "Maybe you'll miss me, huh?" She puts her hand over his mouth and kisses her hand. And then she goes, "I hate you." Then we get the sultry piano. And Gambit says, "I don't understand this woman." But I was happy for that scene because that's a really neat way for Rogue to kiss somebody. Just puts her hand over their mouth. It's pretty good to me.
It could have just said, "Women."
Yeah. Women. Fuck that movie.
Oh, you love it.
It's a car, right? Chicks love the car.
High entrance.
I don't know if anyone knows what we're talking about. Mike will know.
That's right.
Kim will know.
The ground starts to shake and Master Mold emerges from the mountain. It's sort of like a volcano.
Yeah.
Mutants!
It's Master Mold.
I cannot be destroyed!
He's sort of standing in the moonlight.
Yeah, the moon's right behind him and he's in silhouette and he's looks like he's about to wipe them all out.
And then the professor flies the Blackbird in.
Going in for a big kamikaze message because suddenly the back of the jet is filled with TNT, explosive, and gas.
Plastic explosive.
Oh,
it
okay.
says. Gas. So do you think they flew in there with all this shit in the jet? Like, it doesn't look like there was much room for anyone else to sit down.
No, I'm sure when they flew away, it was empty. But this time when he's up again, maybe he was, I don't know, had a quick stop off at somewhere to load up on the gas.
He
or
just ducked out to grab some plastic
he
explosive.
probably took it out of the boot or something. But yeah, he says something along the line, "You represent all the evils in the world. You must be destroyed." And as he's flying towards Master Mold, we see Magneto fly up behind him through the windshield there.
Yeah, the professor says, "You are the living embodiment of all that is evil and unjust in humankind.
Oh.
You must be destroyed."
He's flying towards him. Magneto's on the roof of the jet, and Master Mold reaches his hand out in a really cool shot, still silhouetted by the moon with just the edge of him exposed, and blasts straight at the jet, and Magneto puts a force field up. Yeah. So it's been deflected, which I thought was really cool. Magneto and Professor X sort of working together, but not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm just going to protect you just so you can blow this dude up. And after that happens, they get an interior shot of the jet coming straight at Master Mold, and you see his head's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I always thought that was really cool. And then Professor X ejects out of there, collides with Master Mold, and kaboom. See you later, Master Mold.
You also see in the explosion, you see Trask run across the bottom of the screen here, so he didn't die.
He made it out.
The only people that died, Sentinels.
Yeah, I think they're very careful just to keep avenues open, just in case they want to bring Sentinels back. But I doubt that they would. But yeah, I thought that was a cool bit that you pointed out because I missed it.
So as the professor is floating back down to Earth in his parachute, Magneto says, "Good luck," and that they are even now, but they shall meet again.
I like that.
And we start to get a voiceover here from Senator Kelly, who has sort of changed his tune now.
They're in Congress now. That was like a transition, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he wants to control mutants who abuse their powers, but not oppress those who use theirs for the good of all humanity. And then we cut to Beast in his jail cell. And he's upside down, saying,
Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day.
So then he's let out of jail by Senator Kelly into the welcoming arms of Jubilee.
Yeah, he gets a pardon. Beast, you're free! Yeah, it only took you 13 episodes to get out of prison. Jeez.
And he never got his day in court.
He just got the pardon. I didn't even think about that. Sucked into poor fans of Beast during season 1. They never get to see their boy in action.
So Cyclops and Jean are going on a picnic. And then Cyclops asks Jean to marry him. Mm-hmm. And she replies with just saying Cyclops. Like, she never calls him Scott in these, like, lovey-dovey moments between them.
Yeah. What's up with that? Well, they're going back to code names. Maybe it's their pet names, like darling, sweetheart. She just refers to him as Cyclops.
And he doesn't even have the visor on, so he's not even a Cyclops. So the first thing she says to him is, if we have children, they will be mutants. They'll face the same problems as we have all of our lives. And then Cyclops says, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, wouldn't he be like, whoa, who's talking about kids? Let's slow things down a bit. We're still in a school.
But he does if they are talking about kids, they should have the same problems that they had.
I don't want our kids to be growing up better than us. They should be ridiculed as well.
That's right.
Most parents want better for their kids from what they had. Not old Cyclops.
No.
Well, I could luck out and just have 2 normal kids. I'm sure that's a thing, mutants having normal human beings as kids.
So then we cut to a monitor, which seems to be watching the couple on their picnic.
Another monitor.
And we hear a sinister voice say,
Hope for the future. Sinister knows what your future holds.
He sounds a little bit different to how we hear him in the next episode, next one.
And that is the end of season 1.
End of season 1, end of the final decision.
Yeah, 13 eps down, 63 to go.
I try not to look at it like that, 1 episode at a time. But yeah, my final thoughts on this episode. Well, what did you think first? Well, how did you find the final decision?
It was a solid ending to the season, I believe. Yeah,
I think they're important that they didn't end it because I think. Like everybody's very hopeful that they get a second season, so they leave with this big teaser about Sinister knows what your future holds. So fans of the comics knew, hey, what are they going to do with Mr. Sinister? I love that guy. Just to get excited, maybe get a bit of hype so that a second season would appear. But as a final episode in the season, I was into this one big time because this is a highly rewatched episode for me. Get some great Sentinel action, a great Magneto monologue. You get Wolverine messing up the Sentinels. A lot of badass lines in this one. Well, not heaps, but enough to tide you over. And a really good funny line with the snow. What do you mean, snow? To me, that's the funniest line. That's the funniest line in a while. But that's a good one. But yeah, man, for a final episode of a season, the final hurrah to the Sentinels, I think they deliver on a lot of action. This is why I watch this one, because there's a buttload of action in this one. A lot of cool Sentinel lines. That's what keeps me coming back, Brooks. This is the one that has enough Sentinel lines in here that are really impressive to me and have that real sort of menace and that overall sinister feel that the Sentinels do have, that really supremacy sort of thing. And I'm just discovering it tonight how I think it still connects with Days of Future Past. I didn't see that connection until we started talking about it, how the humans want to take over using the Sentinels. Maybe it's the Sentinels taking over using the humans to allow the Sentinels to take over. That's just something I discovered tonight.
It's a good theory.
Yeah, I think it's great. This is a series that just keeps on giving, I'm keep on bringing in more ideas from my own thoughts of how things are starting to unfold and how they may connect with previous episodes, which maybe it was a grand plan from the showrunners, from Larry Houston or whatever. But for me, I'm thinking that all this sort of hidden breadcrumbs is a really neat thing. If you really go back and watch the series, you might be able to find these connections yourself, or maybe find even more that we have missed. But yeah, I really like this episode, this one.
And it's 25 years old.
It's 25 years old.
We're still here talking about.
Still here talking about. I mean, yeah. I mean, all those classic Sentinel moments with the eyes popping up in the dark, and the shot of him in the moon. There's really some really iconic framing and compositions in these shots. And yeah, it's a good series, man. It's a good first season of something. I mean, I've gone back and rewatched a few first seasons of cartoons that I liked, and sometimes you just can't get past the first episode. Some of the shows you rewatch. I think Biker Mice from Mars, that first episode was hard to watch. It wasn't not hanging shit on anything, but just going back, like, man, this isn't as good as I remember it. With season 1 of X-Men, I think it starts off pretty good, but gets better. You know what I mean? But the start is strong enough that makes you want to continue on, unlike other shows like Street Sharks or Biker Mice from Mars or Samurai Pizza Cats, whatever. They're just Sailor Moon or whatever other cartoons were on at that time. They're all a bit hard to watch now as adults. So, Brooks, what was your favourite part and favourite quote?
My favourite part has to be the thousands of sentinels just coming out of that mine.
The splitting the hose and they're just pouring out.
Yeah, that's the part that I remember from the episode. It's just, that's cool. It's a cool shot.
See, my favourite bit was awaken the sentinels. Right after aircraft is approaching, awaken the sentinels, throws out the hand and see the and that's the cool sort of building dread, like, fuck, we can't even see how many are deep into the cabin. We don't even know how far the Sentinel storage base goes. There's thousands down there, and we don't even get to see them. We just see the red lights of their eyes. That was my favourite bit. That was your favourite line, Brooks?
Magnetos. You're all fools, heroic fools. The brave are always the first to die.
See, that's my favourite line too, because it's to me, that's the one that stuck out the most. And in that scene, He's looking very heroic at the time. He's standing there, his hands by his side, his cape blowing in the wind, watching the jet fly away. You're all fools, heroic fools. But then they punch in for the close-up. The brave are always the first to die. So they must have known, ooh, that is a strong line. Let's give Magneto his close-up so it really drives the point home too. But yeah, that was my favourite line. But of the funny lines, it would have to be Snow, what do you mean, Snow? Because just so, my favourite thing is characters being burdened by something. This has already ruined his day crashing into the car and he's late for something and he's just angry at the snow. So that's my favourite funny line of the episode. Alright, Brooksy, how would you rate this episode?
Pretty simple, this one's an 8.
An 8? I like where your head's at. Because I gave this one an 8 as well. What's holding it back from it being a 9? Couldn't tell you. I couldn't really put my finger on it. Maybe a little bit more badass lines. I mean, the Sentinels are strong, but I don't feel as though the X-Men are coming back and showing their supremacy as how tough they can really be. Maybe a little bit more Wolverine stuff in there, really tearing them to shreds. Or Magneto, when he made his comeback to save Professor X, we don't really see him thrown around. We spent a lot of time underground. If they had upped the action a little bit more, I mean, which is hard to do because there's plenty of it, and it's pretty well balanced, but if they up that action a little bit more, give me like heaps of action, like series finale action, that'd probably rate it a 9 or a 10 for me. Because at the moment, she's pretty strong. It's an 8 for me. What was holding it back from going to 9 for you, Brooksy?
I think it's characters. I reckon if they could punch another 1 or 2 new characters in.
Oh, you reckon?
That would have, I like that, where they throw a new character in. And I don't know how they could do it. I'm trying to imagine how they could do it in this episode.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. It's pretty chockers already.
But yeah, I'd rate it higher if there was someone else cool in there.
Yeah, I mean, that would be neat too, just seeing like a new guy take on Sentinels. I mean, we never see Colossus take on Sentinels, which I reckon he would have he would have done some damage against these plastic robots, these plastic sentinels. But here's something I want to bring up. Because we've rated every one of the episodes, I thought we'd compare it to the IMDb ratings from most of the fans.
Okay.
And we'll go through them all. And I've written down what we've rated the episode, and I want to compare how the internet has rated these episodes. So Night of the Sentinels Part 1, I rated it as 6, and so did you, Brooksy. Average rating on IMDb is 7.8. So sort of the same, sort of a bit higher than what we would go. And then from Part 2, they rated it an 8.1. We rated it only 5, and you rated it a 6, so it's about the same. So they are saying that the second episode is a lot better than the other one. So we're already sort of being heaps different to how other people are seeing. I think we're a bit more harsh, as it were, to our ratings or not. So what did they rate Enter Magneto, Brooke?
So Enter Magneto is a 7.9.
See, we give it a 5 and a 6. So they're already rating it a bit higher than ours.
Enter Magneto, yeah, I didn't think that one was that good.
That's just, I don't give 7s anyway, but that's not, to me, that's not 7.6 or 7.9.
Yeah, 7.9. Same 7.9 again for Deadly Reunions.
You see, I thought they were about the same, so we rated them about the same. I mean, I give Deadly Reunions a 6 and you give it a 5.
Yeah.
So we just swap numbers there.
And then Captive Hearts, 7.5.
We both give it a 4.
Yeah.
That is not a 7.5 episode. I don't know what TV show, what episode they were watching, but I really disagree with that one. I'd love to get everyone else's thoughts on that one, but 7.5 is a very generous score for Captive Hearts.
Cold Vengeance is an 8.
Cold Vengeance, I give that one an 8, and you give that one a 7. So that we're pretty close with the majority on that one.
Slave Island's a 7.8.
Yeah, you give that an 8. I gave that an 8.5. So that's pretty close as well.
The Unstoppable Juggernaut's an 8.
Yeah, I give that 8.5. I think I'd go back on what I said. I'd give Unstoppable Juggernaut a 9.
Okay.
I think I'd change it up. You gave that one a 7.
And The Cure was 7.7.
Cure, I give that a 6.5. You also gave it a 6.
Come the Apocalypse, 8.3.
8.3?
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
You gave it a 7. I gave it a 5 for Come the Apocalypse. I don't know why that one scored so highly either. I mean, how's that higher than the Unstoppable Juggernaut?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. And then they got Days of Future Past Part 1's 8.7.
That makes sense, but it should be higher.
Should be a 10.
That should be a 10. A 10?
A 10!
So I give that a 9.5. You gave that a 10,
and they got the same for Part 2. It's 8.7 again.
No, we dropped down heaps for Part 2, and you gave that one a 7. I gave that one a 6 for Part 2 because it's trying to follow Part 1 in no way.
And then they got 8.4 for the Final Decision.
8.4 Final Decision. I give that one an 8. I give Final Decision 8. What did you give this one, Brooks? I can't remember.
An 8.
An 8. So double 8s from us. So you can see comparing those ratings to our ratings, I think people are, I don't know, not as critical as we would be. I mean, we're trying to look at it from fresh eyes, watching it, how it holds up from childhood to grown-ups. I mean, maybe these people are just rating it based on how they remember it and not watching it sort of like a standing back from the product. Oh, who knows? That's just an answer that I'd really like to get an answer. It's a question I'd really like to get an answer on, but I'm not about to go on IMDb and start a thread. Why did you rate each of the episodes the way you did? You know, but now I hope we're not being too harsh. I'm just saying how I feel about the episode and rating it on how much I like it.
Well, do you want to read out the IMDb from now on when we do our ratings?
Yeah, we should do that. Yeah, that'd be
We'll
good.
do that for Season 2.
Season 2, we'll be able to do that, and then we can discuss about it later on. That's a good idea. Nice one, Brooks. But yeah, that's just something I wanted to talk about because I found that very interesting because when I went to the IMDb website, I was shocked at how highly some of these episodes were rated.
Some of them don't sound right.
I was like, yeah, that can't be right. It's time for tally time. How are we looking for the claw draw, Brooksy?
So this claw draw for this episode is 3.
Mm-hmm.
That brings us to 44. So Season 1, 44 claw draws.
That's for you, Slats. We got a season counter, and soon we'll have a entire series counter. So 44 for 13 episodes. That's pretty good.
And only the 4 bubs all season. I thought he said bub a lot more than that.
I thought maybe it's Season 2 where he goes bub Bub Crazy?
We'll find out.
We will find out.
We also have Beast quote this time. It's a Shakespeare quote from Macbeth.
Oh, all right.
Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps a petty pace from day to day. So yeah, and Gene didn't pass out because that wouldn't have fitted the plot. Could have been 2 Gene passes out. We're still on 1 for Gene passes out.
That's funny.
And we're still on 1 for mansion total destroyed. But yeah, parts of the mansion have been destroyed plenty in this season.
All right, it's time for shout-outs and mailbag. We got some mail today, Brooks.
So we had a couple of people contact the Facebook page. One from Hayley Wooden. She wants to know who is funding all these repairs at the mansion. She says most of the students are castaways with very little money, and the students who do pay tuition would not be enough to cover the day-to-day runnings. I mean, it'd take a lot of electricity to run the war room.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit, yeah.
She says, at what stage would the professor throw up his hands and make Wolverine work at McDonald's to pay for the new walls?
Of all the places for Wolverine to work, I would not send him to McDonald's. It's a high-stress sort of area, and he doesn't deal with it, especially when he's got that much murder in his system. I wouldn't send him there. But the way I'd answer this, Haley, is I think the professor has very, very deep pockets, and he would have installed some sort of generators underground to power the war room and the cliffhanger with the, not a hallucination, the digital camouflage up there. So I think it's all on the Professor X, and he understands that these mutants are crazy, blowing up stuff. I mean, even when they're learning how to do their powers, I'm sure they've accidentally broken priceless Ming vases and and paintings lying around the house. So I think that's the generosity that's in him. He's funding all the bills there. What do you think, Brooksy?
I've got a few theories.
Let's hear them then.
So the normal ones...
He's selling bogus denim jeans or something to make his millions.
Out of his car hole. So the normal story is that he comes from a wealthy family, right?
Yeah,
That's where he's got all the money.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about Professor X here.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't like Professor X.
Oh, really?
So I reckon that he's invested this money on the stock exchange.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And he uses his psychic powers for insider trading. And he's reading the minds of people that are investing. So he knows which companies are going to boom on the stock market. And he can just throw some money in there.
Oh, he's playing a long game on certain things. You reckon he caused the property crash a couple of years ago?
Well, he could have. He could also use his telepathic powers to gamble.
Oh, okay.
If he goes to a casino, he can just put like whatever he wants down on any sort of game, and then just go, "Yeah, I know what you've got."
Oh no, I reckon he could just play the blackjack dealer and just keep the blackjack dealer to just keep putting cards out, and he could win with 11 or whatever.
Yeah,
Hit me.
You can't bluff a telepath.
Yeah. Wow, Brooksy, you've opened up some.
I've got a few,
mate. That's my favourite.
You like that one?
Yeah, give me some more.
He could be. They make a lot of stuff there. He's got like Beast and that making a bunch of things. I reckon he's probably selling some of those on the black market to some people, maybe some governments around the world. And that.
Jesus!
You reckon he could be selling some of his patents?
Perhaps the danger room. He could sell it to Russia or whatever to train their troops. I don't know.
What about he's getting Quicksilver to steal stuff for him?
Wait, Quicksilver's not on the team yet. I mean,
that's why you don't see him. He's too busy stealing gold from people.
Gold and precious metals.
Yep, precious metals. All the precious metals.
Oh, how much adamantium does the professor have in the vaults?
He could also...
Oh my God, it's more.
He could also be paid by other governments for national security.
All right.
He could be using the X-Men as his own little militia to look after some conflicts in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, okay, all right. That makes sense. That's a good little one.
So he could also manipulate a bunch of wealthy people just to give him some grants.
Thanks, can I have a grant?
And also... He's got to be on disability, doesn't he?
Ah! Disability?
Yes.
Ah, Jesus.
So I don't think you'll see him down the road pretending to be a fortune teller anytime soon.
Oh, my God.
Although he could be doing that too.
Oh, geez, that's the best segment ever, Brooksy. Well done.
I also said that he does get a lot of this shit for free, I reckon, too. Like, all this stuff, there's a bunch of things on the internet about, like, the danger room coming from, like, the Shi'ar Empire and that sort of stuff.
Oh,
And
right.
some of the technology could come from Tony Stark.
Okay.
Maybe some of the costumes could come from, like, Reed Richards. Because, they got the molecule stuff and all that kind of thing.
Oh, wow. That's really sort of crossovers and that sort of thing. I like your contained universe theories. Oh, man, you had an answer for everything. Oh, Quicksilver's not in the team because he's too busy stealing, Bender.
right.
That's right. You can't see him. He's too busy stealing precious metals. Oh, man. Send in more questions for Brooksy to come up with
That's
more
right.
wild theories. Please, people. I love this.
Everyone get your questions in.
I mean, I would never have thought that. I don't think anything would have topped the poker can't bluff a telepath.
That's right.
That should be on a T-shirt. But he's Professor X in wheelchair. He's got to be on disabilities, right? I don't know which one I like better. You tell us what you think was the better one of Brooksy's theories as to why the professor's so rich.
We also got another person contact the show this week, didn't we,
Oh,
Brenda?
yeah, we sure did. Do you want to break the news to the fans of who contacted us?
The legendary Larry Houston.
That's right. Larry Houston, director of every single episode of X-Men the Animated Series, contacted us. We didn't contact him. It's like, well, it's like we're making a splash, man. I really enjoyed seeing this one come up because he contacted the Facebook page directly, and rather than post on anything, because we share all the episodes on Facebook and all the sort of groups that we think that people would like to listen to. And one of the Facebook pages is X-Men the Animated Series, and a few of the series creators monitor the website and visit just to see what's going on, and Larry contacted us. And should we read out what he said?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think he'd mind. He's obviously listening, which is super cool.
Yeah, that's the best part.
That's the absolute best part, and like I don't think it's like a sort of half compliment either, because I'll just read out what he says. He goes, "Hi, this is Larry Houston. I've been enjoying your podcast, taking me down memory lane. Just listened to Days of Future Past Part 2 today. One thing most people don't know is that we had no guarantee of a second season, so we tried to do as much as we could in the one season. Glad you both liked the ending of Part 2. Live action storyboard artist did that section, and I liked the angles he chose for the magnetizer watch a lot." So he's not just like, because we talked about that ending sequence. That would have been right in the middle of the towards the end of the podcast. So he would have listened all the way through. And what I think's cool is that not only are we taking the fans down memory lane, the series creators are too are having a bit of a revisit of this series as well, which I thought was super neat. And for a while, I didn't know what to say. It's like, oh man, this Larry Houston's talking to us. What should I write back? And he's like, try something. so I just paid him a compliment and asked if he ever wanted to be on the show. Well, that's a long shot or whatever. But Larry, if you're listening to this one, we'd love to have you on board and just talk about the series in general, because we were super stoked to find that you listened to the show. And thanks for listening too, by the way. This is great. This is super stuff.
Yeah. So if anyone is listening and wants to get in contact with the show, do so. We'll read out, like Haley, if you got a question or you just want to tell us what you think of the show.
Yeah, I love the questions. If you've got any odd questions that just pop into your head, send them in, and Brooksy will come up with several answers for you that are probably also going to be hilarious, because he didn't prep me for that at all. It's the first time I've heard him. It was outstanding. My favourite segment so far.
So yeah, that's the end of season 1.
End of season 1, we did it.
So yeah, our next episode is season 2, episode 1. It's also I'm going to start giving the number of the episode as well. So it'll be episode 14. So season 1, episode 1. Season 2, sorry, episode 1. Till Death Do Us Part 1. It's our next episode.
Without giving too much away, we obviously know Sinister's going to be in it, but yeah, this should be an interesting watch, because when we go past season 1, there's not a lot of episodes I used to rewatch before we started doing the series, so this could be like moving into new territory for me because I'm not that much familiar with these ones. So this will be a fun rewatch.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to mention, yes, we finished season 1. Yes, we're up to episode 13 with the podcast. Didn't you say that most podcasts usually sort of dwindle and die out if they don't make it to, was it episode 10 or something like that?
Between 10 and 20, yeah.
Between 10 and 20. So we're at episode 13 now. We're almost what I would think we would call an established podcast, because I think getting past just episode 10, I think, was a pretty big deal for us.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was. Yes, we're going to try and pump them out as often as we can, but just when we started this whole thing, you said to me, look, we got to get to at least 10, because that's when the rest of them sort of lose interest, fizzle out. They've got so many podcasts that go to episode 7, then you never hear from them again. But yeah, I'm thinking it's a bit of a personal victory for us that we made it past episode 10, on to 13, continuing on delivering the X-Men, Generation X-Men podcast.
And we got 60 odd to go.
60 odd to go. All right, it's time for the social media shout-outs. Rate and subscribe to us on iTunes and Podbean. You can also find us on Podcast Addict and Pocket Casters. If you're on iTunes, give us a star rating so we can have an average star rating. I want to see how many stars we're worth. Like and share our page on Facebook at Generation X-Men. Share us to any X-Men fans who'd like to hear two Australians bang on about mutants for an hour. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at GenXmenPod for some behind-the-scenes photos, videos, and Meme Monday. Or you can contact us via Facebook IM or by email, generationxmenpodcast@gmail.com. Keep those questions coming. All right, that's it from us here at Generation X-Men. Hope you've had as much fun listening as we have had talking. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for your time and attention. Next week we've got Till Death Do Us Part 1 with Breakdown, Tally Time and Clawdraw. Like the Terminator, we'll be back and we look forward to your company then. Thanks for hosting, Brooksey.
No worries, Bender. Take it easy, mate.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
I think that's the most times I've fucked up the outro.
It was because I put you off because I kept fucking up my shit.
I'll edit that shit out later.